Welcome to the GameCritics.com podcast, episode 19. I'm Tim Spaeth. We've got a great show this week. Joining me, as always, are Chi Kong Liu.
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Brad Gallaway.
Hey, guys.
And our fourth chair, Mike Bracken, is on assignment tonight, but we are pleased to welcome, in his first appearance on the show, the co-founder of Epicenter Studios in Sherman Oaks, California, Mr. Brian Jury. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys very much for having me.
It's fantastic to have you here. Thanks for taking time out of your Saturday night to join us. Your new game is Real Heroes Firefighter. It's on store shelves right now. It's exclusive to the Nintendo Wii. I will tell you, Brian, I was in a Best Buy just this afternoon. I saw some copies of the game prominently displayed on the shelves. Looks great. It's exciting.
That's good to hear. Wow, cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know, when was the official release date?
Originally, May, but eventually it was supposed to be last week, and now due to logistics, which is a word we can't argue with, it was supposed to be next Tuesday, but according to some fan forums we've had, and according to you, it's out there now.
Yeah. I will tell you, there were a couple of kids in the vicinity of the game on the shelf, and I put a copy of the game in each of their hands, and I said to them, in a very menacing voice, I said, "Tell your parents to buy this, or I will come for you in the night." And and they were like, cool. They skipped away down the aisle, and so that's two sales right there.
So. Was that followed by an arrest?
Well, we talk about secrets. I can't really talk about that, but Brian, we'll talk about Firefighter in a bit. But for the folks who may not be familiar with you or Epicenter Studios, tell us your origin story. Where do you come from? How did Epicenter come to be?
Sure. So I actually, like many people in our industry, started off in a different life. I was actually a structural engineer for a few years, and I realized I pretty much hated every minute of it. I moved to LA, ended up accidentally actually moving next to Activision headquarters in Santa Monica, and really was looking for a change in life, and always passionate about video games, so I applied to be a QA tester, and this was back in 2001. Jump forward a year and a half. It's pretty easy to advance for people who can, actually talk. And I'm in the production department.
Good to know.
Well, the testing department. There's a lot of high school kids who are just doing the job in the summers and that kind of stuff. And you get all walks of life down there. Mm-hmm. And it just takes a little bit of hard work, and you get noticed pretty easily. And I rose the ranks pretty quickly. Ended up getting a production gig on a couple Spider-Man projects, and then. The cool thing that happened was I was pulled onto the Call of Duty Finest Hour, which is the first console Call of Duty, the one that Spark did. Now, I'm sure, I don't know if you guys remember much, but that was kind of a little bit of a nightmare and lawsuits and all this other stuff, but it was a fantastic learning experience, and ended up really solidifying me on the Call of Duty team over there. So ended up working on that, ended up working on Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1, and then I ended up starting Call of Duty 3. And at that point, I actually got a really interesting offer to help start up this other company. And I really wanted to get in the developer side. Been on the production side for pretty much my entire previous 5 or 6 years. The less said about this other company, the better. But we ended up putting out 300 on the PSP. And then my co-partner here, Nathaniel McClure, I met him at Activision, worked together for about 6-7 years there. He was pretty much sick of the 46-hour shifts. Kind of no recognition kind of thing going on at Activision. He was on the Call of Duty franchise as well, and he called me up and asked if I was interested in starting something fresh. I was, and pretty much just started right there, and right then and there.
So your last game at Activision was it COD 3, or did you work on Modern Warfare?
I did not get to touch Modern Warfare. I saw, so for Call of Duty 3, just kind of a quick background, those guys at Treyarch, they were given this project 10 months to do it and 7 SKUs to do. And I just, between that rainstorm coming and the opportunity to start the new company, I took the new company.
It is funny because, Treyarch gets such a bad rap. They get the whole Star Trek thing where the odd-numbered ones are, considered less prestigious than the even-numbered games, but they're given, like you said, an insanely small amount of time to develop these products.
Yeah, the fact that they released the games that they released at the quality that they're at is it's kind of a miracle. It really is, and they are incredibly talented. It's just they just need kind of an opportunity and the technology that Infinity Ward has, and yeah, I think the future games you'll be seeing from them will be a lot higher quality.
Yeah.
So were you on actually the Treyarch team, or were you sort of just working with them? I'm kind of like a little confused as between.
Yeah, with Activision, especially owning Treyarch, and Treyarch is actually in the same building complex that Activision headquarters is at. So I was actually at headquarters production studio, and I mean, I would spend 4 hours of my 10-hour day over at Treyarch. So yeah, I was not on the development team; I was on the production team, but worked daily with those guys.
I see. And was
Hey,
there?
Brian. Oh, go ahead, Shay. I'm sorry.
So I was gonna was there when you were talking about the Call of Duty games? Was there sort of a rivalry going on between you guys and the original team, or how did that all sort of work out?
Well, you guys, I'm sure you remember the rap song that Infinity Ward put at the end of Call of Duty 4. Those guys, they're very proud of what they created with Call of Duty, and they should be. But they definitely think that they should be the only ones doing the projects, and they definitely think that they are significantly better development studio than other studios are. I mean, again, you look at the numbers, you look at the review scores, they are. I mean, they're really good.
Right.
It's just, they know they're good. Put it that way.
Right. And you're someone who's sort of caught in the crossfire then, right? If I'm
Yeah.
understanding this correctly.
Yeah, but at the same time, we're at the end of the day, we're all working to make as good a game as we can all possibly make. So it's a friendly rivalry.
Right. Cool.
Hey, Brian. I want to kind of just get off of that Call of Duty thing for a second. When you and your partner Nathaniel, that's his name, correct, Nathaniel?
Yes. Yep.
When you guys decided to strike out, I'm sure that, we've heard these kind of stories a lot of times. I mean, I hear about people saying I was a developer and I was at the bottom where I was a tester and I wanted to get out. And, I mean, that's kind of like the dream that a lot of people have. I'm sure a lot of our listening audience kind of, has a fantasy of that sort of, every now and again. But for you to actually do that, I mean, I think one thing that is a question that never really gets answered is where did you get the seed money to start up? I mean, did you guys just have like a ton of money in savings and did you eat ramen for 6 months to start it? Did you get business loans? I mean, like, what was the logistics side of going out and saying, hey, we're going to be a studio? Like, what was that process like? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It was difficult. I mean, this stuff is not rocket science. Anybody could do it if you really, really want to do it. Let me put it that way. But when we started, it was just me, Than, and then a couple guys I was able to pull from the 300 team. And there was no money. I mean, we put away a couple bucks just from our previous gigs, but I mean, it was eating ramen for about 2.5 years ongoing. We ended up signing with it's kind of a new thing for the game industry where there's a company called Union Entertainment, and they're essentially an agency, just like movie stars have agents. We have a video game agent, so he actually goes out and helps find us gigs and puts us in contact with publishers and that kind of thing. But when we first started, we did a publisher tour for Firefighter. We had a concept laid out. We had a really, really short demo, which is basically just one room our artists put together. Again, zero funding, pretty much all sweat equity at this point. But what we knew we needed to take the next step was actually to create a playable demo. We ended up having a friend of a friend who had some money. It wasn't much. I mean, we're talking less than $30K. And that pretty much financed us to get two more people on. We built this demo, this about 5-minute gameplay demo on that 25K, and that was pretty much it. And I mean, that was the only funds that we had for the first 9 months of our studio until Konami came around and they were interested in our Critter Roundup title.
I mean, this demo sounds like a $30,000 roll of the dice. Am I mischaracterizing that at all? How did you see it?
Yeah, it absolutely was. But we were really, I mean, we feel like it's such a no-brainer concept, and we felt that. So we're not creating new tech. We actually are licensing our technology engine-wise, so we can mitigate a lot of risks with that. So it was really it was about being able to create as good content and art and kind of good story flow and that kind of stuff with that money. So the risk was low as far as actually having a successful demo, but the risk was high as far as somebody actually giving a damn about it. In the end, everybody really liked the concept, but one of the things that we did was, and we see this as a really common pitfall for a lot of startup developers, is that we priced ourselves out of a lot of publishers. We went in wanting X millions of dollars, and nobody's giving X millions of dollars, even though we thought, this is a no-brainer. How could you not give us X millions of dollars? So I think we did shoot ourselves in the foot a lot. We got a lot of doors closed because of that. And in the end, we ended up taking significantly less than X millions of dollars. But we also realized we can do a lot more per penny, really. So it's just about being creative with the money you got and just, the resources you have and running with it.
So just to be clear, basically, you guys put together a demo on a little bit of seed money and some sweat equity, and when you showed that around, people liked what they saw enough to front you some money to keep you going. Then is that right?
No. I mean, it's mostly right. There wasn't any money again until we were pitching around some WiiWare projects. A lot of publishers all of a sudden saw WiiWare was coming up, and they wanted concepts. And so as soon as we kind of sold Critter Roundups to Konami, that was the first time we saw any sort of income at all. And that was probably about 10 months since after we started the company.
And was Critter Roundup? It was not done by the time you sold it to them, or was it?
No, not at all. That was actually it was a paper document that they bought.
Ah, interesting.
And that had nothing to do with the original tech demo.
Not at all. Well, the tech demo got us in the door, and it made people aware of who we were, and kind of showed that we actually are capable of doing something. One of the other things with this industry is pretty much what have you done lately? And we, even though collectively we had a lot of credits under our name, as an Epicenter we had nothing. So.
And would you call your experience partnering with Konami good experience, bad experience, a learning experience?
I think any experience where you learn is a good experience. WiiWare in general, I firmly believe that there are very few people making money on WiiWare, and most of the people who are making money on WiiWare are Nintendo themselves. I'm sure that opportunity was the right one to really put our chips in, and it didn't hurt us at all. I mean, we got a good product out, and we were happy with it. But Konami was a good experience. If it doesn't have Metal Gear in the title, there's a lot less attention from Konami. And there's also the whole, Japanese mothership kind of controlling the American mothership, and the American mothership kind of is the pouty child that wants to do their own thing. So there's this kind of weird infighting thing that you're kind of caught in the middle of every once in a while. But overall, it was a great experience.
So there was no pressure from Konami to put that crazy monkey from Metal Gear in as one of the critters?
We actually requested to see if we can get a couple of Konami characters in, but it was really, we needed to hit WiiWare launch. We had no idea when WiiWare actually was launching, so it was kind of a bummer that we couldn't.
And were you were one of if not, or I guess how soon after launch did Critter Roundup come up? It was just a couple weeks after the WiiWare launch, wasn't it?
Well, the whole goal, and this made it even trickier for us, is that we were going to be a launch title in Japan, and that was coming out. That was in March, but we didn't have a date until probably 3 weeks before the service went live. Go information. So we were aiming for that Japanese date, and we hit the Japanese day and date, and then we ended up being 1 week after the American launch.
Let's transition to Real Heroes Firefighter, and I want to ask you about the initial idea. At what point during your journey did this idea for the Wii firefighting game come to you or come to your team?
So that was pretty much, the Wii came out late November 2006, and I bought my launch unit, waited in line with a bunch of friends, my girlfriend. My girlfriend's really cool, by the way. She actually waited in line for me with the Wii, midnight launch. So Elebits came out, and I was a huge fan of Elebits, and I was sitting playing with my girlfriend with Elebits, and she said, she was actually the first person to say, this would be really cool as a fire hose. And then, ding, kind of light bulb over my head, and pretty much over the next 3 months kind of fleshed out some concept ideas and kind of fleshed out some design concepts, and then I presented it. It was perfect because then 2 months later, Nathaniel contacted me about starting the company, and I thought this was, perfect way to start the company was with this project.
Was there any thought to presenting it to someone at Activision?
We did informally pitch to Activision. One of the kind of weird things at that time, this was early 2007, mid 2007, was that a lot of these big publishers didn't have a clue as to where the Wii was going. I mean, I thought it was obvious the Wii was taking off. It was huge, but it was still this unproven, untapped market at that point for a lot of the big publishers. And it kind of goes back to the money thing as well. But a lot of these guys were like, "Yeah, it's a great concept, but it's not for us. We want to put $20 million into the next brown shooter on the 360."
I played that game, by the way. It was just okay.
Brown shooter. Yeah. So, I mean, is it if you're in your position at Activision as a producer, I mean, is it as easy as going into somebody's office and saying, "Hey, I've got this idea for a game," or would it have been months and months of meetings and conference calls and focus groups? And I mean, I would imagine that would just be a very draining process as a creative person.
Yeah, it depends on who you know and who you're kind of close with at Activision. I think it would have been a process that would have taken months, but the reality is the process without them took almost a year. So no matter what, it's going to be a long process. Every time somebody says it's going to happen next month, you have to count 4 months from it actually happening.
So I guess the elephant in the room is the Wii itself. Let me take this tactic with it. Forgive the pun, but video game fire. It's very hot right now. Alone in the Dark, Gears 2, Call of Duty World at War, fire is very much a supporting role as a weapon in all of these games. Obviously, it's the main villain of your game. What do you have to do to make sure you get the fire right? And as you went into the development process, did you find that the Wii was capable of realizing your vision for how the fire would behave?
Yeah, don't forget Far Cry 2's fire, which I think was probably the most amazing of all the games you mentioned.
Yep.
Very true.
Very true.
I guess the short answer is, in order to have cool fire, you have to have a really smart programming staff. We really weren't sure what we were going to be capable of doing when we first started Firefighter, and that was kind of, I would say, if we were doing a post-mortem, that was going to be one of what didn't go well. It was, we were 3 months into development, we had maps built, we had events scripted out, but our fire wasn't working yet, just because we weren't sure what we were really fully capable of doing. The good news is that we ended up accomplishing pretty much every goal that we really wanted to set out with the fire. The Wii is actually a pretty good processor. What it doesn't do well is handle a whole bunch of particle effects, and we kind of had a lot of workarounds with that. But I think we were able to get a really solid frame rate, and I think my programmer said we were able to display like some 1,300 individual fires on screen at once, and we're actually tracking 12,000 fires that are behind the player, like that aren't being drawn until the player actually looks at them. So I don't think the Wii was necessarily a handicap for the actual fire system. Graphics we can talk about something totally separately, but as far as our fire system goes, there really wouldn't be all that much more we'd be able to accomplish. I mean, of course, we'd be able to put a lot more subtlety in and tweak is a lot on a 360 PS3, but I think we were able to accomplish what we really wanted to accomplish on the Wii.
And I guess how do you even know how fire is supposed to behave? Do you light stuff on fire in the parking lot and then you shoot it with a video camera, or what kind of research goes into that?
Well, we all watched Backdraft about a dozen times. No, we actually talked with a lot of firefighters. We ended up doing a tour of a fire station here in Southern California, and we met this guy. His name's Captain Bill Hines. Guy's a 28-year veteran of the fire department. He's a really well-spoken guy. He's kind of seen it all, done it all kind of thing. And he ended up becoming our firefighter technical advisor guy. So anytime we had questions about, hey, how would fire do this, he would be more than happy to sit down and really explain it all out. And the other thing that was kind of fun, too, and I really wish we got this stuff on tape, was that Nathaniel has a friend who does Hollywood special effects work. He does stuff on the TV show Numbers, as well as like From Dusk Till Dawn, a bunch of things. And he actually caught stuff on fire for us. I mean, we were definitely able to get enough references and resources that we could see what it could do.
It's interesting you bring up that, because I was wondering whether you had interviewed actual firefighters or not. And when you look at when I was doing research on the game, I did get a sense between all the voice actors and everything that was going on that it seemed like you guys had put a lot into the game. And as we talk about a lot of the the Wii games, shovelware often comes up a lot, and you guys are clearly not doing that. I mean, how aware are you of that, and in relation to the space of the Wii? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, do you guys feel like this is like effort that's going to be appreciated, that sort of thing?
Well, I think shovelware is an interesting term that I think in general I think it's fairly well defined in a lot of our minds, but at the same time, I think that a lot of people automatically assume a game that doesn't have the prettiest graphics is automatically shovelware, or a game that's not full price is automatically shovelware.
Right.
I mean,
You have to fight that perception, correct? I mean,
yeah, absolutely, and that's something that we've been trying to kind of get the word out. Like, there's plenty of Wagglefest games out there, and there's plenty of minigame collections, and there's nothing wrong with those. I mean, it's a great platform for that kind of stuff, but we really just wanted to make a game that happened to be on the Wii. And with the limited resources that we had, so I mean that was kind of the tricky balance. But yeah, I mean it's definitely a constant battle. And no offense to our publisher, Conspiracy Entertainment, because they've been absolutely fantastic. They're really the best publisher I think I've ever worked with as far as letting us make the game we wanted to make. But you automatically go onto game trailers and you see a trailer from from Conspiracy. The first 20 comments, even if it's Gears of War 3, is going to be shovelware. I mean, there's a lot of preconceptions that we have to overcome, and I don't know if we're doing a good job of it or not, but we're definitely aware of it.
Brad, you've played the game. Chi and I have not.
I have, yes.
Chi and I have not had a chance to play it yet. I certainly intend to. Brad, do you have specific questions about what you saw in the levels that you've played thus far?
I didn't really have specific questions, but I did have a lot of comments, and I do want to say that, to Brian and the rest of the Epicenter team, who I hope listen to this podcast, I definitely think that the effort you guys put into it did not go to waste. I mean, we can talk about the graphics in a minute if you want to, but I think the thing that really struck me right off the bat was it was a very sincere presentation. I really got the sense right away that you guys were very deliberate about what you were doing, like the way things were laid out. The way that you brought the player into the game right off the bat was really good. And the pacing was something that I really appreciated. I didn't feel like there was a lot of dead space. I felt like things progressed, really quick. Like I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I was kind of seeing what was coming next, and it really flowed. It flowed really well. I think that anybody who gives the game a chance will immediately notice a marked difference between Firefighter and any of the other the shovelware things that we were talking about. I mean, I really sincerely hope that the game gets enough of a push and that people become aware of it enough, because I think with just a few minutes of hands-on, it is going to be really clear that there is a difference. It's a quality product that like Brian said, just happens to be on the Wii. So I didn't have any questions, but I did have a lot of appreciation. I mean, Brian, what do you guys see as your main competition on the Wii right now in the Wii space? I mean, do you feel like you're fighting against all those 8 million generic shovelware minigames out there? I mean, do you feel like you're kind of up against, some of Nintendo's like lower tier products? I mean, where do you guys see yourself, and what's your idea about who you're going after in the Wii audience?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for the nice thoughts and comments. The team, this really was a labor of love for the team. It was there wasn't a time that anybody didn't give 100% on this project, and there was a lot of overtime. There's a lot of hard work for a lot of low pay for a lot of these guys, and I'm really happy to hear that at least one person out there kind of sees that there really was legit effort put into this thing. As far as competition goes, that's a tough question. One of the knocks we're also getting, and it's a completely fair knock, is our title, Real Heroes Firefighter. First of all, it's really tough to name things. Everything's already trademarked at this point. And also, there's a lot of previous firefighter games that used the cool jargon of firefighters, and that's all trademark has gone. But one of the reasons that we ended up going with Real Heroes Firefighter is that there's no doubt in the world what this game is about to a consumer who is seeing this thing for the first time. Like, we spent a lot of time going to Best Buy and Target and Walmart, and we looked at the store shelves of Wii games, and it's just a pastel explosion of kind of puke a little bit. And there's kind of crazy titles, and you have no idea what this cover art is, and so we wanted to take all that confusion out as completely as possible. As far as our game competition goes, I mean, we aimed high. Put it that way. We followed the conduit really, really closely. We followed a lot of Nintendo's offerings, especially Metroid Prime 3. We know we're not anywhere near there. We also know we spent probably a fraction of that, a tenth of that, if that. So, I'm not really sure how to answer that. We're in competition for people who are interested in a fun game. That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Shi. I'm sorry.
What did you think of Conduit and how it's performing right now?
I actually haven't. Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to play it just yet. we followed all the dev diaries, and we talked to a lot of the friends that we have at High Voltage. I think the sales numbers, I think the last time I heard, one of the things that I think hurt Conduit's perception was that it came out like a week before the month was over. So when those NPD results came out, they only had a week of sales on there. I think they're still pretty strong. At last I remember hearing that they're over 100K in sales in a month and a half or so. Now, I have a rough idea of how much money they put into this game, and I know that's probably not on the way of doing what they hoped it was going to do. Whereas if we do 100K in a month and a half, we're going to be all dancing in gold pots. Maybe not, but I think my biggest complaint with have any of you guys played the Conduit?
Yeah, I have.
Playing it tonight. I have it into my my stack tonight, so not quite yet.
I played it.
So what'd you think about it, Jay?
Well, I actually talked about this in a previous episode, and I felt like them trying to ape Halo was a big mistake as far as, which is actually kind of interesting because I think what you guys did was sort of more appropriate, which is sort of design a game that was more appropriate for the Wii as opposed to making something that really wasn't meant for the Wii to begin with. So that was kind of my issue with it. I mean, it was a competent game. I just felt like it wasn't original enough, for my taste at least.
Yeah, and that's kind of the impression that I got from it, is that technically it's brilliant. I'm not sure you, I hate to say it, I'm not sure you need to put that much effort on a Wii game necessarily. I mean, and that's more kind of what you're saying. It's more playing to the power of the platform rather than kind of trying to shoehorn a current gen, whatever, a 360 title onto the Wii platform. And I think they kind of lost a little bit with I don't know, it just seems a little generic to me. I don't know,
yeah.
but I need
I
to
agree
play
100%. I agree 100%. And certainly them trying to say that they're right in line with the 360 was a huge mistake because I don't think anyone agrees with that, And as we've said on our previous episodes as well, we try, we're not graphics horrors, so it's not, if you got a unique concept, and it seems like you have one here, at least fairly unique because we don't see the firefighter thing done every day, but the graphics can be negligible, so it's good that you went that route, I think. But from at least from an artistic standpoint.
Right.
No, I totally agree. I do want to second what she said. I think what he said is actually really true, and I think a lot of developers would do well to kind of pay attention to that concept of like what you guys did. When I played through Firefighter, I really felt like it was a good fit. Like everything that I did made sense. Like, the way that the tools were implemented, the way that the Wiimote itself was implemented. It wasn't hard to get into. It didn't feel casual. Like it wasn't one of those, only one button action kind of things. Like it was a little bit more complicated than the average Wii game, I think, but it fit well and it felt right. Like, another game that I think is a really good fit for the Wiimote is like, Trauma Center. I think that's a brilliant implementation of the Wii controls. And I think that your guys' game, Firefighter as well, is one of those where it really instinctually understands what the console does well, and it plays to its strengths. So I do think that you guys deserve some props for that. But to follow up a little bit, and I hate to go there, but we got to go there, and it's already been mentioned, is about the graphics. I mean, so I've seen the game in motion, and I believe the other guys have seen at least videos. Before I even say anything, I mean, do you want to maybe say something about it? What's your feeling on how the graphics turned out? What do you think it's going to mean in terms of sales and perception of the title? I mean, do you have what are your thoughts generally?
Yeah, it's definitely it's not even that tricky for us. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. We had extremely limited resources. I'm not using it as an excuse. I mean, we literally had an art staff of 5 when we at the start of Firefighter, and that we had a staff of 5 through maybe the first 5 months of the 10 months dev cycle. We ended up getting the art staff up to, I think, 8 at the end. But I mean, that's 8 people to cover animations, characters, environments, particles, etc. Whereas a lot of games will have 8 just for environments, for example. I think one of the things that we decided to do proactively was we knew we had limited resources. We knew that no matter if we put 90% of our resources in art, it probably still wasn't going to be a great looking game.
Right.
So we really wanted to focus on what we knew we could control more, which in this case was the fire system and kind of creating these scripted environments and scripted scenarios for the player to play through. The one thing that as a studio we took a lot We learned a lot from Firefighter. One of the things you don't want to do on the Wii is realism, and I think that was kind of a mistake of ours, that we went realistic. Like for our next project, which I can't unfortunately talk about just yet, but we ended up kind of going with everything's realism as far as scale and this looks right, but we're not going ultra realistic texturing, and I think that's where the Wii starts to hurt a little bit, and especially if you don't have the art resources. So a little long-winded, but that's kind of that's my preemptive. Oh God, here we go.
Well, I mean, okay, so as the only person on the podcast besides you, of course, who's actually played the game, I think it's actually a great game. I had a really good time with it, but I can certainly see how some people just taking a quick look at it would be like, I don't know. So, I mean, do you guys have any strategies? Are you kind of just like, closing your eyes and saying like a Hail Mary, hoping that enough people are going to get past first appearances and really get to the juicy, meaty portion of the game? Or are you trying to start like a grassroots campaign to get the word out? I mean, given that it looks the way it does, and I certainly don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not trying to slam you guys at all. But with graphics being the uphill battle you guys have to fight, I mean, what as a team, like, what are you guys going to do about that? Is it just cross your fingers or what?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of a lot of things. One of the first phrases out of my mouth anytime we're talking to any sort of media is that we know we're not a graphics powerhouse. Like, we want to be upfront with it, we want to acknowledge it, and we want to kind of. I'd be happy with every review starts with this game isn't very good looking, but and then the next 3 paragraphs are followed with why the game's actually really fun. I'm fine with that. Like, it's going to be out there. It's true. I mean, I'm not here to kind of bullshit and paint a rosy picture where there isn't. I mean, I don't think we're a terrible looking game, but I mean, there are moments of ugliness and there are some moments of prettiness. But so it's really kind of being as proactive as we possibly can, and kind of hoping for the best. But one of the things that we've seen so far from fans, and we have a Facebook page, and we got almost 4,500 fans right now. It's kind of crazy. Like, we don't have any budget to actually advertise this thing, so these people are actually finding us, and I mean, they're really fanatical, especially the firefighting community. And I think that's where we're going to kind of get the word of mouth, where it's going to actually get into the homes because of these guys. There's some 160,000 professional firefighters in the country, and then 6 times that volunteers. So once these guys see the game and kind of bring it home for their families, kids, that's kind of what we're aiming for as far as word of mouth. And so we're not going to win a cover of Game Informer with our pretty graphics. We know that. It's really just a matter of trying to get people to take a chance on it. And I think our $30 price point kind of goes in that direction as well. That helps soften that blow a little bit.
Well, to follow up real quick, I did want to get to the MSRP real quick, but still talking about the graphics for a second.
Sure.
And you can answer this or not, but despite your guys' limited budget and your choices to devote resources where you did, I did happen to notice that there was quite a bit of detail put into the rack of the female firefighter as you're along in the fire truck. I noticed that it seemed like somebody must have spent a little extra time on that. Can you confirm that?
Really, I honestly haven't noticed that. Our character guy, he's actually we got really, really lucky with him. He's actually he's got experience on God of War 2, and he like his portfolio. He's got like some of the craziest bosses and monsters from God of War 2. And we're like, you're hired before you even set his mouth open. I'm really happy with how most of the characters came out, and I honestly, this is the first time somebody's brought up Esmeralda's rack, but there's a first for everything.
So there's no elaborate boob physics going on in there, huh?
We couldn't afford.
No, there was no bounce, but like when she's sitting in the truck, I was like, man, it's like they put like extra shadows on it and stuff. Like, it looks a lot more detailed than like than the thing she's sitting next to. So yeah, it kind of caught my eye, and I figured I would have that. But
you got my interest there, Brad. So yeah,
okay,
gotta check that out.
There you go. But I did want to say, I think you guys were really brilliant, and I want to get a little bit more info on this. But your MSRP is $30, which I think is a really, really, really smart choice. I mean, number one, like you guys said, you're not a graphics powerhouse, and so I think that people in general paying the $60 price tag, I mean, I don't know about other people, but when I pay full price for a game and it costs that much, I expect like all the bells and whistles. And I'm not a graphics whore, so if I'm paying a little bit less for a game that doesn't quite hit those marks, I feel fine about that. So, I mean, was that really targeted towards, like you said, softening the blow to people? Like, I mean, what was exactly your rationale for lowering the MSRP? What was involved in lowering the MSRP? And do you think that other developers should kind of take a lesson from that?
Yeah, I think I agree with you pretty much across the board. It does, without getting to the whole, is our games art, because at that point, it's priceless, right? But I think that there's definitely a fun factor to price ratio of games. If I play a kind of mediocre game, I kind of use a recent example of Fracture. I almost bought Fracture at full price because I'm total physics whore. I love that stuff. And I'm glad I didn't. I ended up buying it at $10, and I was still like, but at the same time, I had a lot more fun with that game at $10 than I would have at $50 or $60.
Right.
And I think our experience with the Critter Roundup, where the pricing structure was completely out of our hands, we really wanted to go out at a $5 game, and Konami, well, since they had the say, they went out with a $10 game, and I think that really it kind of killed us. Coming in at a price point, they made a lot of sense. That kind of took a lot of the risk out of the consumer. It just made a lot of sense to us. I mean, you look at especially the Wii shelves. There's sequels, or there's plenty of licenses, and we're an unknown. So I think there's that we have to eat that cost of being that unknown. And Conspiracy, our publisher, was 100% on board with it. We feel like we will sell and we will get into more living rooms at this price point than we would if we were at $40. And yeah, I think other developers and publishers should definitely really look at their prices and be realistic. There's so many 360 games that just because it's on the 360, it's $60. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, half those games should not be anywhere near that price point.
It's refreshing to hear someone on the development side actually have some common sense when it comes to the MSRP
it's
thing.
extremely refreshing. Yes, I mean, it seems to be like everybody knows it, but nobody wants to say it out loud. And it's like, we've been talking about it for a long time, about having tiered price structure and like you said, the fun to cost ratio. So thank you for giving us all a reality check, because I felt like we were all saying the right thing, and yet like nobody in the industry. I mean, just today I saw a quote from I think it's Bobby Kotick over at EA or something, saying that he'd put games even more expensive, and I'm like,
oh
man. I mean, I realize it must be great to be number one and be on top, and like to light your cigars with $100 bills, but like let's keep it in touch with reality, shall we?
Yeah, I think part of the problem too comes in is that a lot of the developers, a lot of the people who make a lot of sense with what we're kind of talking about here, I think there's a lot of people who feel it and believe it, but they don't have any power to do anything about it. And that's something that with our publishing partnership, we have power to do something about it. So we're a little lucky in that aspect.
Brian, I'm wondering at what point in the production of the game you became aware of Wii Motion Plus. And I'm guessing that with the limited resources you were working with, it probably would not have been realistic to integrate that. But I'm just wondering if you gave any thought to it whatsoever. Is it something you're interested in developing in your future games?
Yeah, it's something that we're paying very close attention to. I think Wii Motion Plus was announced before we signed our Firefighter deal, actually. But then most Nintendo things, there's no release date. So we felt like it was something that was worth paying attention to, but it wasn't something worth building around. And yeah, you kind of hit it on the head. Once the release date and the specs and everything kind of fell into place, we would have to create a version for Wii Motion Plus, and we'd have to also have controls that weren't Wii Motion Plus. One of the other things too about our game is that we really aren't using the waggle all that much. We're pretty much purely a first-person shooter control scheme, highly influenced by Metroid Prime 3, and so I don't think Wii Motion Plus would have added all that much to our game. But in the future.
That, by the way, actually, because when I was going through, I was like thanking my lucky stars, like I wasn't constantly shaking that damn thing all over. I have been on the record many times saying that I hate motion controls, and I really, really do. But your game was pretty tolerable, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was definitely a conscious effort to use waggle and as limited as possible, and just to make it best use rather than actually defining the controls around a waggle. We actually have a control scheme in the game. Our lead programmer, Gary Kroll, actually hates waggle, and he without anybody knowing it really, he put in a control option that you can play through the game without using motion controls entirely, which I didn't think it was very fun, but I thought it worked fine. Keep it in there.
Is it still in the final version?
Yeah, it's in there. We have a lot of control schemes. Pretty much anybody can find something that they're comfortable with. But yeah, so yeah, it does a lot of things for you. It's smooth, it's streamlined, but I think it takes a little bit of the fun out.
Well, sign me up for that one. Tell him thank
You
you.
know, I was gonna say if he's anti-waggle, he's always got a spot in this club over here.
Absolutely.
After the show,
We're like the leader. We're like leaders of the anti-waggle club, apparently.
after the show, Brad rushes over to the Wii, deletes his game save, starts over. No waggle. Oh my. So we should mention.
Let me just ask one more question about the Wii Motion Plus though. But when it was announced though, as a developer, I'm sure you were aware of the limitations of the the lack of gyroscope or whatever in the current thing. When they announced the Wii Motion Plus, were you sort of like, yes, finally, or was it any kind of reaction like that at all, or not really?
I think my reaction was probably a lot similar to a lot of other people's reactions, whereas we thought, yeah, that's how it was supposed to work originally. Nice work fixing it to make it work how it's supposed to work. I think it's really cool. I've only played a Wii Sports Resort just a little bit, and it works. It really does work, but I think that the limiting factor right now of motion controls is that there's just no feedback, and until you get a physical feedback, I think we're going to hit that wall pretty quick.
Okay. So you think the potential there is still pretty low then?
It's all in how you use it. I mean, that technology is ready to be used. You just have to use it smartly.
And when you say feedback, exactly what do you mean?
You need to, for example, in Wii Sports Resort, when you're hacking away with their sword fighting thing, like you're still swinging in the air, and like you don't hit anything to bounce your sword back, and it's kind of like you're pantomiming without actually controlling. I think there's a fine line between where it is right now and where possibly it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's kind of nebulous, and I'm really excited with the Natal stuff. I think that's going to be really interesting if it's done right and marketed right with the right games. I think that can really take off. But I still think that without actually having some sort of feedback in your hands, that a controller does give that that ceiling might be there. But we'll see.
Well, Brian, we should mention, in addition to the price point, which we're so fond of, another really cool thing that you're doing with this game is a portion of the proceeds from the sales of Firefighter will be donated to where?
It's an organization called the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. They have a Los Angeles origin, but now they're actually an international group. One of the things that we learned from talking to all these firefighters, and it was really kind of amazing to us, really kind of sad actually, is that these guys know they're going to get sick during their careers. They actually sign waivers essentially admitting as much. All the stuff that they're surrounded by, all the stuff they're exposed to, inhaling on a day-to-day basis, the percentage of cancer victims of the firefighting community is ridiculous compared to the cancer rates of non-firefighters. And so it really doesn't take much to do the right thing and to give back what we could. And this group, what they do, instead of doing cancer research, which there's a lot of very well-funded charities to do, these guys will actually help try to take care of the firefighter themselves. These guys are, it's a macho group, including the women. I'd actually be more scared of the women than the men for the most part. Those women are pretty rough, in a good way. But there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of pride.
Bring me over there.
But there's a lot of pride in being healthy and being indestructible, and so they don't always take care of themselves. So this charity will actually reach out to firefighters, let them know the signs that they're being ill, they're getting ill. They'll tell them which doctors to go to, what questions to ask. They'll put them up in host families if they have to travel for cure. It's a really nice charity that actually gives back to the actual firefighter as much as possible. And so we're really happy to align ourselves with them. We're giving a portion of proceeds to them, and we hope we have a really long relationship with these guys.
Yeah, I didn't even know that about firefighters, so I'm glad if this episode of this podcast does one thing, it's just spreads more knowledge about that. I think that'd be a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well,
yeah, we're really happy. We're really proud of doing it.
So am I incorrect in assuming that the lack of resources is what drove you to make this game on the Wii as opposed to, like, say, the 360 or anything else?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just kind of a quick answer to that really is that for the Call of Duty teams, those teams get over to 120, 150 people per project. For about a 360, even if you're going to go to do a budget 360 title, you're looking at 35 to 60 guys. While we made Firefighter with a core team of 14 with a couple of extra people. So we couldn't have created this game on any other platform.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
I think you guys did a great job, and even more so than most developers because you really are kind of in tune with Louis' strengths, which just seems to be completely just going over the heads of most people. But so yeah, I think I've played pretty much every console firefighter game. I'm pretty sure I have, and out of all of them, I think Real Heroes Firefighter really nails it. I mean, the concept is there, the gameplay is there. It doesn't feel hokey at all. I mean, I'm not a firefighter, but it seems to hit all the right notes for me. So I think you guys did, the best out of anybody who's attempted a firefighter game.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. I think you're actually one of the very first people to outside of the studio to play the game. So it means a lot hearing that from the first person. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And the team will appreciate this immensely.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I wanted to mention you guys are not listed, or Firefighter rather is not listed on Metacritic for whatever reason. I couldn't find it there.
Yeah, again. I will never bash anything Conspiracy does because they're fantastic to us. But that's kind of one of the tricks of working with a lower level publisher is that a lot of stuff that's automatic for an Activision is a lot of work for a smaller publisher. So I appreciate the heads up, and we'll definitely get there. It's just a battle. Let's keep fighting.
I know a guy there, so maybe I'll put in a word for you there, huh?
See
if I can help you out. Yeah,
that would be nice. Appreciate it.
Sure, cool.
And the audience of this podcast, it's equivalent to approximately the audience for the ABC Evening News. It's about 5 million. So word is going to get out there, Brian. Here's my last question for you, Brian, and then please anything else you'd like to mention, please do. But I know you can't talk about your next project. I know that announcement is a little ways off, but the title Real Heroes: Firefighter implies that Real Heroes could be a franchise, maybe a series of games. And if I may be so bold as to pitch a game idea to you, and please don't be offended, I think the next game in the Real Heroes series could be Real Heroes Podcaster. And that's now, as far as I've taken it, but I am willing to fly out and do some mocap work. You just let me know.
I think this would work really well for you guys since I can't see much motion control going on with a game like that. So this might work really well for you guys.
I mean, it's pretty much just a guy sitting on a couch. Now that's a $1 million premise. You guys work your magic, but just give me a cut, and I think we're good.
All right, we'll talk offline.
Fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
Classic Tim there. Classic Tim.
I was waiting for him to say it was going to be Real Heroes Cannibal, and I was like, oh, Christ, here we go again.
That's an old Inside podcast joke. Little Fallout 3 preference of mine is to eat all the enemies. It's my deal. It's what I do. Well, Brian Jury, thank you so much for being with us on the podcast. Real Heroes Firefighter is on store shelves right now. If people are interested in reading more about the game or connecting with you online, where would you point them? Where would you have them go?
The one way would be to our company website, which is epicenterstudios.com. The other way, and we're trying to interact as much as possible on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/realheroes. Either way, you will get my attention. There's an email address if you go through our website, and you can send off a letter, whatever. But yeah, we're pretty easy to reach. We try to be as in touch with people as we possibly can.
Fantastic. Any final words for the listeners out there before we wrap things up?
I did have one question for Brad, actually, since he got to play through the game a little bit. One of the things we're really, really proud of, and we're total geeks at heart at the studio, is our voice cast. And I was curious, what did you think of the voice cast? Did you recognize any names or...
Oh, yeah. Actually, I recognized almost everybody that you had on. And, more than anything else, I was really amazed at the quality of the voice actors that you had. I mean, they definitely stood out. This is kind of a small point. I actually hate silent protagonists, so I was really glad that you gave the Proby, which is the name of the character that people play because he's the new guy. I'm glad you gave him a voice. I wouldn't have minded a little more from him, but I think that you guys did a really great job in selecting the actors that you did, and they were all really high quality. So I thought you did fantastic. I was quite surprised, actually.
Cool. I'm glad to hear. It was we have if you guys don't know, we have a kind of geek celebrity cast. We have like James Marsters from Buffy plays one of the main characters, and we have Jeanette Goldstein, who actually played Vasquez from Aliens. She plays the female Vasquez in our game, and Jack McGee, who's been in pretty much every firefighter movie. they all did such a fantastic job. We had a lot of fun recording the guy. John DiMaggio, Marcus Phoenix Bender guy. And it was funny. We've had a lot of other smaller studios with small budgets asking, how'd you get James Marsters? Well, we picked up the phone and called him. It's really not that hard. But so yeah, I'm really proud of how the VO came out. So I'm glad to hear it was appreciated.
The effort you guys put out there was definitely worthwhile for sure. I think you guys were pretty smart with your choices, and even though unfortunately you're going to take some hits on the graphics, I think you guys did the best job you could, and you were very intelligent with what you chose to do. So good move there, absolutely.
Cool. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Right. Looking forward to playing the game. Brian Jury, thanks so much for being on the GameCritics.com podcast, and we hope you'll come back.
Absolutely, anytime, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Our thanks again to Brian Jury of Epicenter Studios, and that will do it for another edition of the GameCritics.com podcast. Remember, you can subscribe to the show via the iTunes Music Store or the Zune Marketplace. You can also listen live right off the GameCritics.com homepage, and as always, we crave your feedback. Leave comments at the site or on Twitter. Our name there is @GameCritics. So, for Chi-Kong Liu and Brad Gallaway, I'm Tim Spaeth. Good night and bon chance.